it's crazy because even in like even post that, right? Even like after finding the Lord, it's hard because like when you care for people, you want this like you do. Well, I can speak for me. Like I do want to be like I feel like growing up I was taught that like I only have my name and my word, right?
Yeah.
So so
I
it's
was raised like that too.
A part of people pleasing is like just you want people to see the good in you.
Yeah.
Right. And then I know me coming up, my mom used to always tell me and the love and the order should be God, Jesus, then yourself. Right. But when we talk about people pleasing, sometimes or a lot of times we put ourselves last.
Yeah.
For other people, and then they don't do what we expect them to do, then it hurt. And it hurts our core, and things hurt because we have expectations for them, right? And when you said it resonated with me so well because it's like, I still go through that to this day. Like, I mean, I just was on the phone with my producer just saying like, like, I'm always helping. Even when I can't, like even when I don't have it to help, I'm always helping. And then something goes wrong, and then it hurts me.
Yeah.
But I was telling him like, as much as I experienced that, I don't feel in my heart to not help. And I remember watching an interview with Mike Tyson, and he was talking to a guy, and the guy was saying, I'm summarizing, he was saying how he used to love a certain way, and he changed that because of everything that happened to him. And Mike Tyson said, you let the devil win. And I said, wait, hold up. Like, what you mean? He's like, because the devil his job is confusion, right? It's to confuse you. So like, if you are a way, that's who you are. But the moment you change that, then you allow him to win. And I'm like, sheesh. So when you said that, like, you like, I'm helping people. And then I started to like, kind of like, mess up the relationships.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't what I want. It was like, that was the devil working in that moment.
1000%.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
When you look back on them times now, like, what do you think?
Oh, I just want to give me a big old hug. Like that version of myself and of my life, I don't even identify with anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like a literal whole other life and whole other self. And I know that is because I have been like, I've had a radical encounter with Jesus that like, that old life is dead, like for real. Like I understand what it means to be a new creation because like who I was like a shell of who I am. You know what I'm saying? And I have so much more compassion for myself than I used to. I used to have no grace for myself, right? I was very, like being a kid, like since I was a kid, I was always really focused. I was very hard on myself. I was very diligent. I wouldn't allow myself to like slip ever. And if I did, like, I was like, oh, well, there go your dreams. You know what I'm saying? Like I was so dramatic. And so I think that as I like became a young adult and had to really figure out how to navigate like my 20s, that same really just like mean self-talk just became a poison in my life, and it spewed out into every other area. And so I just really have so much compassion for that old version of myself, and I'm just so glad that I've come out on the other side of it because I used to think that there wasn't another side of it. Like my mental health got so bad, gutter, like under the gutter, bad, and I am proud of that version of myself for choosing to seek a different life. You know what I'm saying? For because it is a choice, right? It's like in life we have free will. Like you can sit there and you can rot, and be a part of your own destruction, or you can like wake up every day and make small steps towards being better and being different and being new, So, when I reflect on just how down bad I was and how down bad I got, I'm just proud of myself that I made the choice to trust God to get me back up. You know what I'm saying? Because it definitely wasn't just me by myself that got back up, but I did have to make the choice.
No, that's great. And even when you, again, because all of this is in the music, right? So like when you say like you have so much grace for yourself, at one point in time you didn't. So again, we just being real, right? Like you were in New York, you said it was some relationship things. It was a lot of things that just was hard. And a lot of times we want to point the finger so much, and sometimes rightfully so we can, but however, I was taught every time you point a finger, you got 3 pointing back at you, right? So you got to look at yourself. So you talk about the grace thing, and I can only imagine because it's like it's so relatable. It's like I'm looking at me, but when you don't have grace with yourself, it's so hard to have grace with somebody else, right? And we talk about like self-love, and it's cliche for a reason because it matters. It's true. So when I hear that you didn't have grace, I can only imagine how it was for your partner.
Yeah.
Right? And now that you have grace, I hear, teach me, right? I remember listening to this song and I'm like, like I'm listening to the song. I swear I can't make this up. I'm listening to the song and I'm like, first thing I'm like, dang, I wish, I would love for a woman to pray for me like this, pray to understand me like this, right? And my second thought, because again, I am human, I'm like, are you ready for that?
Good question.
Because it's like, if someone is praying for you like this in front of you, do you accept that or do you reject it?
Ding, ding, ding.
And I'm like, but that comes from you having grace in yourself. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like when you making this song, Teach Me, were you going through that at the moment or was this something that you learned after?
Yeah, no, it was definitely in the moment, right? I'm in a relationship with an amazing, amazing man, a man of God who treats me well, right? I always say, I'm like, teach me is not just for any kind of man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's about a man that, you know, that is also submitted to God, that is also praying about you. You know what I'm saying? When you're going through hard times. And so, and good times, right? But so Teach Me really just came from a real place of like, I don't even remember what we were like arguing about, but we just weren't understanding each other. And I'm one of those people where I'm like, what do they call it? Like the emotional gangsters, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like, I'm real sensitive, but like I get real kind of rah-rah, like when my feelings are hurt, you know what I'm saying?
A lot of us do.
Yeah. And so, but it's really just because I'm so sensitive.
My heart on my sleeves, like, you know?
Yeah, I'm hard on my sleeve. And I get like in pain, like when I feel misunderstood, you know? And so we had one of those moments in our relationship, and we were like 6 months in at this point, so we were still kind of like trying to, you know, it's like the honeymoon phase started to pass a little bit, and we were like, okay, who is this person for real? Right. You know what I'm saying? So we're in that space. I'm praying about it, and I'm kind of praying that the Lord will like change him, this man. So I'm like, he just needs to get it together. Like, I don't, right? But then like the Holy Spirit disciplined me in that prayer and redirected me to pray for understanding of this man. Not that he necessarily be changed for like my selfish or honestly like ignorant needs too, right? Because it's like God made all of us very intentionally and on purpose, and there's clearly a reason why he was made the way he is and why I was made the way I am. So pray to understand why he is this way, right? And I came out of that prayer and just like the song just kind of like flowed out from there. And yeah, I wrote it in like 20 minutes maybe. And it's been really, really cool to see the way that like the Lord has used such a real, raw, personal experience that I was having to kind of live in people's lives and in the way that they need to, you know? So
and did you find understanding from that?
I did.
Was it immediate or how long did it take, do you think?
So I think that the understanding really came or comes from a heart posture, right? It's not so much about like, oh, like you got the answer. Sometimes it is one answer, right? But then sometimes it's like a process when the Lord is really trying to like do something, you know, in you. It's not always immediate, right? And so I think that my understanding that I was asking for came back on me, right? It's like, how are you contributing to this, right? Are you loving in the way that we're instructed to love? Are you being patient? Are you being kind? Are you right? Are you being boastful, arrogant, rude, like, you know, and like I can be rude, like, you know, it's a process, you know, it's like
you got some Dominican.
Look, I'm a human, man. Like I'm a person and I've been through some things.
Y'all know about what
you know what I'm saying? Like, don't do me, right? But it's like I've been through some stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you responding out of trauma? Like, are you talking to this person like from a place of fear? You know, that's not a fruit of the Spirit, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think the understanding has been a process that to this day, like it's ongoing, you know what I'm saying? We're on a journey. I don't know who I was watching, but there's this sermon I was watching where they were like notice that whenever there was a miracle in the Bible and it was like an instant healing, that was in the physical. right? Like physical healings could be immediate, right? And that's what we see kind of a pattern of. But it's like whenever God was changing somebody from the inside out, it's a process.
It took some time.
You know? And so I'm still on my process. I'm always going to be on my process, you know? But definitely I've come to a place of more understanding because I'm submitted to the process.
Facts. They say healing is not like a destination, right? It's a journey.
Yeah.
So it's never like it never looks one way. Yeah, it's crazy having this conversation. Again, I kind of want to go back, right, to now, not even New York. We understand New York, Atlanta. Okay. And I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna play a little game, right? I'm gonna tell you what I thought, and I need you to tell me the reality of it, right?
Okay.
So, again, I'm not sure. I know you say you go to Atlanta, pandemic hit, it's like, okay, I gotta go back home. But I'm like, why? Right? And I'm just thinking like, okay, 9-year-old, cast it on Broadway, young Nyla, have success. But in my mind, it's like you go to Atlanta. Well, first of all, you go to New York, right? To go to school for music. You go to Atlanta, I'm assuming, to chase your music dreams.
Yeah.
And it's to me, it's like this is someone who's clearly serious about music, but it seems like maybe she thinks it's just not working out. What is the reality of that? Because that's in my mind, that's what I hear. That's what I'm like, maybe it's just not clicking. Pandemic happened. Like you got all these big dreams and it's just like, it's not working. Oh, I'm done with this. Like, what's the reality?
That's the reality. It wasn't working out. I was broke. I couldn't pay my bills. You know, like I had to go back home. Yeah. And then like on top of that, you know, I was really struggling to like find peace just generally in my life. You know what I'm saying? And I think that growing up, I had this dream that like I would like my life when I achieve the levels of success that I want, you know? And so really, I like idolized success for a large part of my life and a large part of my childhood because God had given me visions from a young age of what my life would look like. So I was always trying to figure out, how am I going to get to this vision? You know what I'm saying? Because some of those things, I would see them come to pass. And then there would be like years of like, what is going on? You know? And I was just really unhappy. I just like, I hated my life. I hated myself. I hated the situations I was finding myself in. I didn't even recognize myself. And I was broke, right? And I was trying to hustle, you know, and then the pandemic slowed my hustle, you know, and as a songwriter, and I just was like, all right, I got to go home.
It's crazy because again, even then, I'm like, the pandemic for most, well, not most. Okay, one, let me slow down. We lost a lot of people during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And that was unfortunate, but I feel like it was another side of that where so many entrepreneurs flourished, right? So when I'm hearing your story, I'm like, wait, what's going on? Because I know in my mind, I'm like, I was struggling before the pandemic. Again, I'm sorry, but I'm just being the reality of mine. I'm like, okay, the pandemic hit, it's up now, right? So I'm like, what was really going on that made you say, man, I can't take this no more?
Yeah, I mean, I was suffering, like internally, like I was so down on myself. That goes back to the no grace, right? It's like, I can't figure out how to make this work. I'm 22, like it's never gonna work. Like, you know, I thought I was gonna be here or here when I was 19 or 16, you know what I'm saying? And so I was like, this is, you know, my mental health was shot. I didn't have any fight left in me. You know what I'm saying? And I had to just like kind of admit defeat, you know? And there was so much spiritual warfare going on at that time that I just really didn't have the tools. I didn't have I was so depleted. My soul was so depleted. And I just kind of had to wave a white flag. You know what I'm saying?
That's so interesting because like you're 22, right? And at that age, we think we know it all.
Yeah.
And for you to say like, you know, I just like in my mind, for you to say I'm defeated at 22, that means a lot. It had to be rough.
I was gone. I was like gone from myself.
So is that when you kind of like, I guess, reintroduce yourself to God or still not yet?
Yeah. So what's interesting is like through all of my journey, like I would always, like I'd go pick up the Bible, be like, maybe I'll flip it to a page and it's gonna
I
be
need God.
something in there. Right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't consistent.
Mhm.
And there was also just like a lot of different warring mindsets and behaviors I was doing. It's like I was not walking in the way of the Lord. So obviously, like, you read in the Bible like for 2 minutes a day, you know what I'm saying? In the middle of you doing all this other stuff, like, it's not gonna like just magically change your life, dog. So I always knew, like, okay, run to the Lord, like, you know, do it for real this time. But then I would, you know, fall off and, you know, wasn't around godly community, wasn't around people who, you know, were encouraging me really in that way. And so I really think ultimately it's like God allowed it all to happen for me to be redirected. You know what I'm saying? And I needed to be quiet for a season for me to really hear him, you know? And it was tough for me to have to make that decision and felt like a failure. And, you know,
I can only imagine.
Because like you said, at 22, you feel like I'm grown. I got to figure
I'm not going back home. Like, I don't need them. Like, I'm going to show them. I'm going to prove to them.
Bruh, wrong. Like, I needed my mommy, bro. And thank God I had a home to go back to where nobody made me feel bad about it. They were just there to embrace me and love me. And, you know, God really encountered me during that time. So ultimately, I'm so grateful for the journey that it's been, but it did get rough. Like, it got really, really painful. And I did not think I was going to make it out, but
now
God.
we're here, right?
Yeah.
You're doing all these interviews and
it's
double
nuts.
wars, going viral. It's crazy, right? It's up and it's stuck, literally.
It's crazy.